Hi, I'm Melissa Davis, and welcome to Hello Prime Life, where midlife isn't a crisis, it's your comeback. You know the drill. You scroll on your phone and see some 20-something influencer detailing her 5 a.m. ultimate morning routine. Jump out of bed, glug down 800 mils of kale juice, plunge into an ice bath, meditate for 20 minutes, journal under red light, write 3 gratitude lists and go for a 5k run. All before the rest of the world wakes up. Honestly, who the hell has 90 minutes to spare first thing in the morning? So you try a scaled back version. You set the alarm early. You force yourself out of bed, drag yourself through the motions, and wait for that promised wave of transcendent vitality. And by 10 a.m, you probably feel like absolute garbage. You're exhausted. You're irritated. And on top of it all, you're now feeling guilty because you couldn't switch your mind off during your meditation. You've turned your morning into another box-ticking exercise. And because you missed the green juice or the 20-minute walk, you feel like you've failed the day before it's even properly underway. Here's the truth. How you kick off your morning was never the real issue. You can nail every step, tick every single wellness box, and still feel completely drained. Turns out, front-loading all your expectations onto 7 a.m. was never going to fix the real problem. Today, we're dismantling the morning routine myth, calling out where your energy is actually leaking, and setting up a realistic approach that works for a busy midlife woman. Let me start by stating the obvious. The productivity industrial complex that invented these high-performance morning routines was not designed for midlife women. It was designed by and for people who don't have hormonal chaos, demanding careers, ageing parents, or teenagers who leave their wet towels on the bathroom floor. There is no one-size-fits-all formula for your mornings. And pretending we all have the same 24 hours or the same biological bandwidth is complete nonsense. And let's be brutally honest about sleep. If you're waking up exhausted because hormones have turned your nights into a festival of hot flushes and 3 a.m. anxiety loops, a 5 a.m. alarm and a cold shower isn't wellness. It's torture. I remember that phase well. If you haven't slept 6 hours straight since 2021, hello menopause, the last thing you need is another high-performance regimen before breakfast. Sleep disruption in midlife is real, and we are going to tackle the science of that in a future episode. But right now, hear me on this. If your sleep is shot, forcing yourself through an elaborate wake-up sequence is just bankrupting what little energy you have left. A morning routine that requires military precision just to brace yourself for your day is a coping mechanism for an unsustainable life, not self-care. And a routine that causes guilt the moment life gets in the way? That's just another master to feed. The morning isn't where energy is lost. It's just where you notice it's gone. If you're dragging yourself through the day, it's usually not because you missed a step this morning. You cannot optimize your way off a 2 p.m. energy cliff when your daily choices are leaking power everywhere else. Real vitality comes from matching your task load to your natural biological and hormonal rhythms across the whole day, not forcing high performance before the sun comes up. And there's a reason this tracks. Your attention and mental bandwidth are finite, especially in midlife when hormones are already eating into your reserves. Spend your entire morning jumping through a complex 10-step ritual and you've burned through your focus before the day even gets going. By mid-afternoon, you're running on fumes. Brain fog, sugar cravings, the works. Midlife energy doesn't leak in big, dramatic bursts. It leaks in micro-drips. Decision fatigue. Deciding what everyone else is eating, fixing, scheduling and solving before you've even put on shoes. Emotional labour. Carrying the invisible mental load for your household, your team or your friends. And people-pleasing. Saying yes to commitments at 8 a.m. that your 3 p.m. self is going to bitterly regret. Stop asking, what morning routine will give me energy? Start asking, where am I bleeding energy before I even leave the house? Here's something the Sunrise Squad doesn't talk about. A great morning begins the night before. If you want a morning that actually works, you have to bookend your day. When you go to bed wired and carrying the unresolved mental load of the day, your morning is doomed before your eyes open. Spending your evening staring at screens, answering late emails, or letting your brain pre-process tomorrow's panic sets your morning up for an adrenaline spike. That's why you wake up already tense. Your body's been bracing for a fight since before the alarm went off. You don't need a 10-step ritual in the morning if you have a 30-minute shutdown the night before. Switching off Netflix or closing the laptop at a set time. Writing down tomorrow's top 2 priorities so your brain stops holding on to them, and dimming the lights. That's how you protect your morning bandwidth. We'll get to the exact anchor system in a minute, but this evening piece is half the equation. Here's the other half. We throw out the 10-step perfectionist checklist and replace it with a minimum viable anchor. An anchor isn't a performance. It's not something you do to prove you're disciplined. It's simply one non-negotiable micro-moment that grounds you, without requiring a frictionless morning that, let's face it, midlife rarely provides. I confess, I fell for the ideal morning routine trap myself. Tried every biohack, challenge and precise protocol out there, only to realise that forcing the exact same template every single day was completely unnatural for a life with changing energy, commitments and hormonal cycles. Rather than feeling energised and primed for the perfect day, they left me feeling more like I fell out of the wrong side of the bed. Now, I have a personalised menu of anchors that work for me. Things like a quick beach walk or run, a few minutes of breath work, or just sitting outside to ground myself. But I don't do all of them every day, and I don't force a set order. I pick and mix based on what I actually have the time, energy and inclination for that morning. Some days it's a 45-minute movement session. Other days it's literally 2 minutes of deep breathing before I open my inbox. Or it might be just the time it takes me to enjoy a great cup of coffee. The win isn't the duration. It's that I chose what I needed rather than running a pre-programmed script or slavishly following someone else's so-called magic formula. Rigid consistency doesn't win the day. Listening to yourself does. These anchors are called minimum viable for a reason. It requires almost zero effort, but it builds trust with yourself. Here's what an anchor actually looks like in real life. Anchor option A. Not touching your phone for the first 15 minutes of the day, so you aren't immediately swallowing other people's emergencies. Anchor option B. Stepping outside on the back deck for 2 minutes to feel actual daylight on your face while your tea brews. Anchor option C. 3 slow, deliberate, deep breaths before you open your laptop. That's it. No guilt, no tracking app, no beating yourself up if the rest of the morning turns into a circus. You don't need an hour of seamless peace to feel grounded and start your day well. You just need one anchor point that belongs entirely to you. But what about when the morning goes off the rails? The dog throws up, you sleep through the alarm, or wake up feeling like you were hit by a bus. It's easy to consider the whole day a write-off at that stage, but that's your old mindset. In the prime life mindset, you use a midday reset. You don't have to wait for tomorrow morning to hit reset. We can recover our energy at any point in the day. If your morning was a circus, pause at 12 p.m. Step away from your desk or whatever you're doing for 3 minutes. Reset your posture. Take 5 slow breaths and claim the second half of your day. Same rules as your minimum viable anchor. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It just needs to be yours. Vitality doesn't get built in a morning vacuum. It's built in your ability to pivot. If you've been forcing yourself through an elaborate system that leaves you feeling more stressed than satisfied, give yourself permission to drop it today. Try this prime power move instead. I want you to audit your morning and pick one minimum viable anchor and ditch the rest of that perfect morning checklist. Practice your single anchor every day this week and notice what happens when you stop treating your morning like a performance review. Energy isn't something you perform for. It's something you cultivate by protecting your boundaries. Feeling sharp, focused and energised was never about the 5 a.m. wake-up call. It's about not letting perfectionism steal the energy you already have. If this resonated with you, if you're ready to stop pushing through exhaustion and start doing something about it, my Hot Flashes newsletter is where I share the real talk about midlife vitality. No fluff, no platitudes, just real-world strategy. The link is in the show notes. Give yourself a break on the morning routine this week. Pick your single anchor, stop overcomplicating it, and go grab life by the love handles. Next week, we're getting into what's really behind that flat, stuck feeling and why it's probably not what you think it is. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you next time.